Hey, what's up? It's Nicola from Singer's Secret. Today, I'm going to go through some ways that you can make money as a singer. So we're talking income streams here, and this is specifically for singers that don't have a following. So if you haven't built up an audience, whether that be offline or online, once you've built up an audience, things do get a lot easier. So this is specifically for singers who don't have a following yet. And the reason I want to address this is for two reasons. Firstly, because I don't have a huge online following for my music. I'm trying to change that, but at the moment I don't. And yet I still make a full-time living from my singing. And I think a lot of singers, when they first start getting into this, they think, oh, you know what, there's no way that I'm going to be able to start making money from my singing until I have a huge audience. It's not the case. And the second reason is because I was doing quite a bit of research on this recently. I'm always on different music websites and blogs and seeing what the new information that's being pumped out is all about. But I've noticed that a lot of the income streams that people on these sites were saying that musicians can make money from were things that were directly related to having quite a large following, like royalties from music. You kind of need to have a decent following before you're going to make any royalties from your own music. So that's why I wanted to address this for people that don't yet have a huge following, so you can start making some money from your singing straight away. So the first way to make income, if you don't have a huge following, is by doing corporate gigs. This is one of the best money earners for everyday musicians. Singers especially, there's so much work out there. Functions, you know, especially around Christmas time, everyone's got work functions and they need bands. So you can do, like, let's just say you're an original music artist, like I am. I do my original music, but I also specialize in jazz and blues, so I do jazz standards, like covers. And so when I do corporate gigs, I'll quite often, I put together like a corporate band. You know, when we just play jazz standards, I called it a little jazz affair, and I liked that because it starts with A, and then when I'm on corporate websites, you know, booking agent websites and stuff, the A usually comes up at the top because it's alphabetized. Don't steal my name. But yeah, so I put that together for my corporate gigs. I know a lot of other musicians, like in my local area, who do like Motown bands as well as their own original music. And they do that because then they've got the corporate gig income and then they've got their original music income. Now, corporate gigs are great because you don't have to do really any preparation to get people through the door because you're going to get paid a set fee. They usually pay a lot better than original gigs do when you're an unknown artist. And you can build up quite a good name for the band just by getting good reviews from booking agents that have booked you for other corporate gigs, and then you can start asking for decent rates, and yeah, there's a lot of money to be made just by doing corporate work. And that brings me to the second stream of income, which is original gigs. Now, when you're an unknown artist, original gigs will not pay well. They just don't, unless you're lucky. The reason is because you either have to be completely responsible for bringing people into the venue, so bums on seats, and then you get a cut of the door sales. Usually that's kind of how it works. So if you don't have a huge audience, it's going to be hard filling those seats. I mean, you can advertise, but then as you know, the more advertising that you do, especially paid advertising, you know, it costs money, which eats into the profits that you're going to make from that gig. Even if you print like a couple of hundred flyers, that's still a couple of hundred flyers that you have to pay to have printed, and then you either have to go and distribute them yourself or get someone to do it for you, and they usually charge, like, if you have 200 posters, they charge like 50 cents or $1 a poster to distribute that and post that up around the city. So, you know, it does eat into your profits of your original gig very, very quickly. The other thing is that you usually have to pay the instrumentalists, unless you have a dedicated band that's kind of in it with you and you're all kind of sharing the songwriting. You usually have to pay an accompanist or people to play for you as a singer, and you've got to pay them out of that profit that you've made getting bums on seats. So a lot of my original gigs Sometimes I make money from them, depends, like especially fringe festivals, I make a lot of money from fringe festivals, but other original gigs, I won't make anything, and I put all the effort in, I do all of the work, but I give everything to the band because I want to be able to pay them a decent amount, so they'll play for me again. And if I paid myself as well, they wouldn't get quite enough money. So it is an income stream, but it's not a high one, but it is one. If you are a solo artist, it's a lot better and a lot easier because you don't have a band to pay for, and then you can kind of say, okay, I'll play that gig, you know, just doing my original songs with my guitar for a couple of $100. That's much, much better, and you'll get a lot more money if you can do that. The third income stream is, well, I'm going to do this 2 income streams into one. So it's busking and house concerts. So I have a friend that makes, no joke, $900, we're talking Australian dollars, but you know, it doesn't matter, $900 a day busking in the city. The reason is because he's got a really popular, I suppose, kind of type of voice that my city likes, and he sings really well-known covers that suit kind of his style and his voice. So he does a lot of Pete Murray songs, Jack Johnson, that kind of music, and people love it. Now, he doesn't make the money from people giving him coins for busking. He makes the money from having a covers CD to sell, and he does this thing where he's like $15 for 1 CD or $20 for 2 CDs. And because the $20 for 2 CDs is a lot cheaper, people often will spend the extra $5 and get the additional CDs. So they've got both of the cover CDs. And it works so well for him. You should like see his guitar case. It's just chockers full of coins. Like, he literally has to haul it back every single day, and he makes $900 a day. He does like a good solid 6 to 8 hours of busking, mind you. You know, he puts the hours in, but the coin is definitely there. And then that brings me to house concerts. Again, this is perfect if you're in a duo, or it's you and your guitar, or you and your keyboard. There are some really established house concert networks. I know that all over the States now, they have a whole network where you can kind of get into the house concert scene and do it like a bit of a tour, where, you know, you're basically going into people's homes, performing a very intimate concert with, you know, between 20 and 50 people, or maybe a little bit more if it's a very large house. And people will give you a certain amount of money based on a donation. So you can't say, this is $15 a ticket for this house concert. It's usually done on donations. But because of the nature of the house concert, because they're so intimate and you get to chat to everybody in the break and beforehand and all the rest of it, and you have the opportunity to sell CDs and merch, you can actually make quite a lot of money by doing house concerts. The last house concert I made, we ended up making about $400 each, and we only ended up performing like a 1-hour set, which is quite a decent amount of coin. The next form of income is by selling merchandise. So this isn't like the physical singing part of it, but even as an unknown artist, you can literally double your income at gigs by having some kind of merchandise to sell. The best kind of merch when you're an unknown name isn't like a t-shirt plastered with your name, because I mean, like, who's going to buy that? But if you do things like, I'm an artist as well, so I do a lot of illustrations and I sell my art prints at my gigs. I also have illustrated a book. I'll put a link to it in the description, which is a humorous book about mothers-in-law. I went through a bad breakup. and so I sell the book at my gigs as well. And so when people come to the merch table, they've got these kind of interesting things that they might, you know, find interesting. Like, they might like the art, or they might like the funny book, rather than just a t-shirt with my name and they don't know who I am on it. And those kind of merch things sell really well. Even CDs are still selling. I know that I haven't really printed many CDs lately because you know, the CD player has been kind of phased out, but for busking and things like that, they still do sell. The other way that you can make money as an original artist, an unknown artist, and this is only for original artists, is through live performance returns. So this is different from royalties. Royalties are kind of like when you get your music played on the radio and you get like a cent, or CD Baby, you upload your stuff to CD Baby or TuneCore, and then people stream it on Spotify and you get like 0.01 cent per stream. It's pathetic. I'm not talking about that kind of royalty stream. I'm talking about live performance royalties. These are the royalties that your local performing arts association will collect for you every time you do a live show. So for Australia, it's APRA. I don't know what it is in the States, but every country has like a performing arts association. You register with them, and then every year you submit all of the live gigs that you played your songs and like how many times you played your original songs. And what happens is that all the venues that play live, have live music, or even play radio, actually have to submit a certain amount of money annually to the Performing Arts Association of that country to cover royalties and live performance royalties for artists. So if you're logging all the different gigs that you're doing, original gigs, even if they're like to 10 people, it adds up. And I get like a couple of grand every year from my live performance returns just by doing live performances regularly. So if I do corporate gigs, I always add a couple of my own originals in there just to kind of like bump up the amount of times that I do I play my gigs live, and it really does affect how much you get in live performance returns at the end of the year. Teaching is another form of income. Obviously you are still singing, but you're teaching, so I don't want to go too much into that because I want to focus more on like how you can make money from performing. But obviously teaching is quite a lucrative way of building like a stable income to support yourself as you're growing your music. But there are two other ways that you can, other income streams that are worth mentioning in this video, and that is crowdfunding. It is real and it works. Even as an unknown artist, I have had friends that, I haven't done crowdfunding myself, but my friends have raised like 10,000 to 15,000. I think one of them made 20,000 to fundraise albums. And it works. And it's usually just friends and family supporting you, but you would not believe how $5 adds up to being $10,000 at the end of the day. And the crowdfunding campaigns do take a lot of work. But if you really want to record your first demos and your first EP, crowdfunding is a great way to get that income, because otherwise you're going to have to like scrimp and save $10,000, and it's really hard with all the daily living costs, especially if you're trying to scrape a living as a musician. So yeah, crowdfunding is a great little income stream. But it's one of those income streams that's obviously not a continuous income stream. It's like a once every couple of years income stream. And the same for this next one, which are grants. So not everyone is going to be able to access grants. It depends on the local government and performing associations in your local area. But I know that all over Australia, for example, we have state divided performing arts associations, and they support the growth of arts and culture in the local area, and part of doing that is by giving small grants to local artists. So I funded my entire first album and first tour on 2 different grants that I won, and they're around $10,000 each. The grant application process is a bitch and it takes ages, but hello, you know, like 10 grand just given to me to use to put towards my music. So yeah, it's definitely another good income stream that you need to think about. And if you're kind of, obviously it's again, you know, once every couple of years, but if you're sort of trying to forecast and schedule like how you're growing your music, and you're like, okay, this year I'm really going to focus on my songwriting, and then next year I want to record, then, you know, you can kind of think, okay, well, next year I'm going to apply for a grant, and that's going to become part of my income to get to do what I want to do and record this album. So this was a bit of a longer video, but I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Head on over to singersecret.com for some free vocal warm-ups if you haven't got those yet. They come with free downloadable sing-along tracks. And subscribe if I didn't say that already. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks.